Hello, beautiful manifestors. It is Olivia Grace, and I'm back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about what could be blocking your biggest blessing. This is going to be a video for those of you who have been manifesting like a big shift in your life, or it could not even be that big of a shift and just having trouble actually getting the results. What I'm about to talk about is actually connected to like our basic psychology as humans, and can be why we can kind of block ourselves and sort of not want what we think that we want. um, so yeah, we're going to talk about that today. But if you're new here, welcome. I am Olivia Grace. This is the Master Manifestors channel. Here I talk about law of assumption, manifestation, all that good stuff. So if you're into those topics, I'd love to have you be a part of the channel. I am a coach. I have ways that you can work with me one-on-one, and I am hosting a SP group coaching, Light of Love. It's going to be in just a few weeks, or actually a couple weeks now. I'm so excited about this round of Light of Love because I have so much more information as far as really being able to attract your person and keep your person and have a beautiful, incredible relationship, as well as tap into this magnetic and adored version of yourself. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, the link is in the description. I will probably go pin it in the comments for you guys as well, okay? Other than that, let's get into the video. Hello, everybody popping in. Jenny, what's up, dude? I was just thinking about you. Hi, Erica. Hi, Unfolding Rose. Hi, Azania. No, I'm on shrooms. Let me get this knowledge. Oh, girl, it's gonna hit different. Hi, Ty. Hi, Cola. Hi, Mocha. Hi, Summer. Hi, Nish. Hi, Anais. Hi, Daisha. Hi, Blessing. Okay, guys, let's get started, okay? So, what is on the opposite side of all the things that we want, right? And it's fear. I don't like to make you guys wait. It's fear. And a lot of times we don't believe that we're afraid. Oh my gosh, and I didn't even say thank you. Thank you, Erica. I didn't say that. And thank you, Ty. Thank you so much, you guys. So a lot of times you think, well, I'm not afraid. Like, of course, this is what I want. I'm not afraid of it, right? But there can be a fear associated with having the desire. What will that do to me? What will that do to those around me? And these things sound like when you're broke, right? And you're manifesting being rich, you're like, I don't give a fuck what it's going to do to somebody around me, right? But it's still there. And really what it is, you guys, is it's a misidentification. It's where you're still not in the identity of the version who has this. There can even, especially when it comes to whatever desires, there can be this belief or thought that, well, that's for some people, but that's not for me. And a lot of times these things that I'm telling you guys are not conscious thoughts, okay? They're not thoughts that you're going to say, yeah, I think as I'm affirming, I'm like, this doesn't happen for me, but it's a background thought, right? It's a subconscious thought. It's a feeling about self, right? The feeling about self, which is why everything comes back to self-concept. Okay. So some of you guys that are into psychology have probably heard of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And so what it basically says is that our needs have to be met at a certain level before we're able to rise to before we can meet other needs, basically, right? So let's say, for instance, like if you are like, your safety is the number one important thing to you. Okay. Your safety to your ego self is much more important than your happiness. Okay. So, and now your ego self is kind of a scaredy cat, no lie. Like it's kind of a scaredy cat because it's hyper vigilant. It's hyper vigilant in ensuring that you don't hurt yourself. And it does that by looking into the past, right? Looking at people around you, right? Looking at like all these different things. It's taking all the information and deducting what's safe and what's not. Even something as simple as just like repeating themes in movies is enough to impress your mind that certain things are not for me or certain things come at a big cost, right? Whatever it is, there's fear behind it. Okay. So The thing about fear is that when we feel fear, we automatically believe it. Okay. This is the thing with like fear. This is the thing with our negative emotions and thoughts. As soon as we have it, like when your body says, like, let's say, I don't know, you want to be a performer, but you have stage fright, right? Like your body is going to be like, no, like if you go out there, everybody's going to hate you. They're going to boo you and throw tomatoes at you. So it's best you don't go out there. Right. But that's not necessarily true. Right. But it's going to seem like it's true. It's like the fear kind of puffs it up in our mind to make us believe it. Right. Like, no, this is serious. And it honestly, it kind of presses you even more, right? Because it's like when you're not cracking, it's like, no, like I gotta make you really afraid so you don't go out there, right? And it seems like the ego is just a hating ass hoe, but really the ego is just like, I want to keep you safe. I'm a scaredy cat. The only way that I know to keep you safe is to keep you boxed in, to keep you limited, to keep you small, and to keep you in what's familiar, right? Even when what's familiar isn't what you want or isn't serving you. Okay. This is where Neville talks about the feeling of naturalness, right? The feeling of naturalness. This is what brings things to it. Think about your desire. And when you think about yourself having it, does it feel natural or does it still feel like, wow, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, right? The ego is very convincing. Yes, the ego is very convincing. It's interesting. God told me yesterday, God, God said, you know, the devil's voice is just as loud as mine, if not even louder. And sometimes, like, when I be hearing things from God, I'm like, really? Like, but think about it, you guys. I think that's something that, to be honest, really hinders us because we're thinking, because the voice that says, no, don't do it, stay small, stay this, stay that, because it's so loud, because it's affecting you so deeply, we think that, yeah, that must be what I'm supposed to do. And when we talk about the devil in law of assumption, the devil represents doubt, right? But the voice of doubt is just as loud, if not louder, than the voice of God, the voice of faith. To be honest, you guys, you really got to cultivate that voice of faith and really practice tapping in and tuning into that voice of faith, because listening to the ego mind is how we've operated for our whole lives. Okay. So, if you think about, like, even when it comes to our most basic needs, you guys, if you are, I don't know, starving in the jungle and there's like a little cottage and you know that there's some food in there, but you also know that there's like 3 hungry tigers in there, you're not going to go in there, even though you know that there's an answer to your problem right there. If you also know that it could possibly cost you your life or cost you a leg or a limb, right? Then you're not gonna go. Okay. So when it comes to something I've been doing lately, you guys, I suggest for some of you guys to try it, is EFT tapping. I've done EFT before and it just never really resonated with me, but I feel like now, like, it's resonating with me. And something they talk about in that is resistance. Like, why am I resisting that? There's a part of me, like, when it comes to your bigger desires, you guys, there's a part of you that doesn't want it to happen. You know what I'm saying? There's a part of you, and most of the time, like I'm saying, that part of you is the part of you that feels safe, right? That feels secure. It feels like, I know I can predict, right? I can predict what's going to happen next. So if I know it, I can predict if I know that, you know, I'm going to go in and I'm going to clock in and I'm going to get my paycheck at the end of the week, then I know that and I can feel secure in that and I can plan my life around that. But if I want to really go and start my business, well, I don't know what's going to happen. And let me tell you guys something. This is actually a really good example because the fear story keeps you so limited. Okay. Like, you guys, whatever, if you are working a 9 to 5, whatever you're making, like, for your check for like a week or 2 weeks, you could make easily in like a day, every day, you know, doing your own business. But the ego is going to convince you that the limited choice is better, right? The limited choice is safer, actually. Yeah, you could make money and you could be successful and you could do what you wanted to do and you could have freedom, but you also could fail. And if you fail, you won't have any money. If you don't have any money, you're not gonna pay your bills. You don't pay your bills, you're gonna be homeless. If you're homeless, you're gonna die. So it always comes back to death for the ego, okay? So you might as well just go ahead and keep clocking in, right? Which is fine. Like, it's fine, but you realize that you keep operating in this limited sense of self. You realize that you're keeping yourself back. So think about, this is why identity work is so important, you guys, okay? Like, identity work is you just thinking about not just what do I want, okay? Like, but who is the version of me that has, maintains, and lives this life, right? Lives this life. What is the version of me that does this? And being and stepping into that version. And y'all, listen, this is one of the quickest and easiest ways to shift. It is, in my opinion, honestly. Like when I'm talking to people and they're like, well, I want to shift and I want to do this. And it's like, okay, decide. That's the quickest and easiest way, is to actually decide. But it's so quick and easy that it's unbelievable. That's like, it can't be that. I must need to affirm for 100 times. So it's like, well, then do that. If that's what you feel like you have to do. But really, you actually have the power to just decide, like, yeah, it's like this now. And to walk in that. And also to be aware of when the fear comes up. What is the fear on the opposite side of receiving my desire? What is the fear on the opposite side of receiving my desire? What am I afraid of losing? What am I afraid? What's the price I feel like I have to pay? And really just be logical. Like, this is the thing that I like to do with fear, is be logical with it. Like, be logical with it. The fear, because the fear most of the time is irrational. Even though it causes a big response in your body and a big response in your mind, when you actually break down the fear, it's irrational a lot of times, right? So you can just talk yourself through it. If it's like, oh, like, I don't know, you're performing, like I said, and you have stage fright. And it's like, yeah, you're going to go out there, they're going to hate it. They're going to throw tomatoes at you. You're going to do terrible and all this stuff. And it's like, are they? Like, is that really true? Like, you probably be at that point been practicing and rehearsing for months. Probably at that point, if you're getting on stage, are probably very talented at what you're doing. Probably people don't really bring tomatoes to performances to throw at people, and when you kind of actually just look at it, you can see the irrationalness of of the fear, okay? And even if not, right? Let's take the other one where the fear is actually rational, where it's like, well, if you quit your job, right? You quit your job, what if you don't make any money in your business? What if you fail? Right? That's a rational fear, but is it? Because when you know that an assumption, though false, if persistent, will harden into fact, and you know that if I decide that I'm successful in all that I do, then I'm successful in all that I do, right? Then do you really have to be afraid? Really, honestly, you guys, it's a conscious choice, okay? It's a conscious choice to choose between the fearful, limiting story and the new, limitless story. And at the end of the day, I think something good that I've heard is, like, they asked, like, I guess it was somebody who worked with, like, the elderly, and they asked them, like, about their regrets in life. And pretty much all of them regretted more what they didn't do than what they did do, right? And there's this, like, fear as we are, going through life, like, if I do this thing, what if it ruins my life? Or if I do this thing, what if it goes wrong or goes bad? But if you do it, what if it goes amazing? Especially when it comes to those of you who have a business, or you want to start a social media, or, something like that, or even a relationship, or you're afraid of that. Like, it doesn't, like, yeah, what if it goes terrible? But what if it's amazing? What if it's beautiful? What if it's everything that you wanted and more, right? So you'll never get to find out until you do it. And honestly, you guys, I'm a big fan of telling you to do things in spite of the fear. If the fear is crippling, then you need more identity work, right? But I also don't encourage you to sit there and wait, right? This is why people are waiting for freaking ever, decades. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make my social media once I get over my fear of being on camera. Okay, then you're never going to make it. Like, you just get on there. Okay, you just do it. And then once you do it, it's not as scary as it seems. Okay. So I just wanted to come and tell you guys that. I will read some questions, just a couple before I go. But yeah, if you guys like to join next month's SP group coaching, I'd love to have you in there. because we will definitely be working through fear, which is a big it's funny because fear keeps you from this greatest love. Fear keeps you from the greatest love of your life because you much rather perpetuate old stories. You'd much rather perpetuate the idea that I'm just going to be hurt anyway to protect yourself. Like everything is just to protect yourself, you guys. Everything that keeps you small a lot of times is you wanting to protect yourself. Okay. But it's also limiting your experience, because if you're going to say, well, I'm just going to assume that relationships are never going to work out for me. I'll never be happy. I'll never have a good person because that feels safer to believe. And I'll just rest in that knowledge. Then you never get the chance to experience it. You never get the chance to fully allow yourself to let go and be held. Right. So, and honestly, you guys, to be honest, that's why relationships and things and pretty much everything in the world is fucked up, because of fear. Everything bad, everything negative, everything hateful, like even like haters are so afraid of being unloved. They're so afraid of being who they are that they feel like is worthless, that they have to express that hatred to other people. When it comes to racism is from fear. I'm afraid that you are going to do something to me, so I'm going to do something to you first. Okay? Everything comes from fear. Everything, every hatred, like even wars, all this stuff, it's fear. I'm afraid you're going to do something to me, so I'm going to do something to you. It's actually the opposite of doing unto your neighbor as you would have done to yourself. It's the opposite of that. I have to get you before you get me, not knowing that you're all one. The only person you're ever getting is yourself, you know? All right, let me see. Princess says, I've been reading Emily Dickinson poems and it touches on these topics. Since the 1800s, people have pondered risk versus reward. Indeed. Shit, since ever. Since ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. The caveman not going to leave out when he knows that the mammoth is out there. You know what I mean? I don't know if mammoths eat people, but whatever. You know, if they know it's not a good time, I'm going to stay in the cave, you know? I'm not venturing out further than this much, right? Because I don't know what's out further than this much. I know what's here. I know that tree is there. That rock is there. I don't know what's beyond that. What's that dark, shadowy place? We don't go there. Okay. All right. Okay. Free will. Ooh, this is a good topic. Okay. So free will is your power to choice. Wow. Your power to choose. Okay. Your power to choose. You always have the ability to choose what you're going to assume, what you're going to think, what you're going to do. And that's your free will. However, it's interesting because Neville was saying that we don't really have free will because we're destined and compelled to live out our assumptions. So once again, let's take the person with the business, right? And y'all, listen to me. This is why self-concept is important, okay? Let's take the person with the business that says, I want to quit my job and go full-time in my business, but I'm afraid I'm going to fail, right? And so, but this person has free will, right? They can do whatever they do, but their assumption of I'm going to fail is going to compel them to do the wrong thing at the wrong time or to not take the action. They might know, like, damn, you know, I heard something on this TikTok that sounds like it could work for me in my business, but every time they get started to do it, the resistance is too much and they just can't do it, right? So it's it's because it's that you're compelled to act out the assumption that you're in, the self-concept that you're in. This is what I be telling y'all. Your core beliefs, your self-concept is what leads you to believe and assume what you believe and assume. And then that is what leads you to the 3D. But so much of us are focused on the 3D, the 3D, the 3D. You're not even looking at your beliefs and assumptions. You damn sure not looking at yourself, right? But that's where everything has started from. So yeah, you have free will to choose, but just know you're going to choose along the lines of who you think that you are, which is very important for you to take on a new concept of self, okay? Not, you just scripted that everything the light touches. Princess Asia, you're so cute. Happy Halloween. Happy Mean Girls Day, guys. I'm going to be watching Mean Girls. I'm going to be getting a little slizzed and watching Mean Girls tonight. I have like shit to do. Yes. Okay, perfect, Anna's World. I want to have my own business as well and become financially independent. But when it comes to motivation or taking action, I don't, and I don't know why, because you don't believe that you're going to be successful. If you knew, Anna's World, if you knew that December, if you started today and committed yourself to it every single day, if you knew that December would be your first 10K month, tell me that you would be not motivated. If you knew it for a fact, it's not really about motivation. It's about faith and what your faith is in, right? And your faith is in failure. So when your faith is in failure, it's like, well, what's the point? There's no point, girl. You might as well you gonna do all that for what? You're not actually gonna be successful. Just go ahead and turn on the next episode of Netflix, right? If you knew that what you were gonna do was gonna pop off, you would do it. Okay. October 3rd. Princess Asia, I love you. Okay. I want to read this. It looks like it's a half a question. Oh, maybe not. But now at this point, I would rather not do something and avoid the risk of anything good or bad than to do a certain thing and get bad only because of all I've been through. I get that, B. Like, to be honest, that's real. That's why, that's trauma. You know what I'm saying? That's what that means. You know, it's you, when you have fundamentally experienced things that are so bad and so scary that you're so in fear and you're like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I'm good where I'm at. To be honest, there's no shame in that, you guys. Like, you can live your life however you want to live your life, but B, I am intending and knowing that eventually in your life you are going to want more. You're going to want more than you're afraid of it, you know? And I'm intending that you get it. You deserve it. But it's all a choice, you guys. You don't have to do it. Nobody's going to be mad if you don't do it. Okay? Oh. Will I have another SP weekly group outside of the one that's starting next week? Possibly, you guys. I do everything just based off my intuition. Like, all of my programs are kind of felt, and then I do that. So I kind of wait for instruction from the higher ups. But I will say that, like, November, December, it's just like busy months, obviously, because of the holidays. So I tend not to do group programs during those months. I might be doing like the 1-day activations that we did earlier this year. Okay. How did you shift from manifesting for survival to being natural? Was that also an identity thing or a mental diet? That's a very good question, Princess. I think it was both. I think the first thing was for me realizing that I was manifesting my survival, because I would be like, like I was, and then I'd be like, but wait, like, here I am again manifesting the same thing every single month for like the second year in a row. Like, huh? And it always works. So why am I keeping myself here? You know, like, why don't I just aim higher? Because there's this belief. Ooh, Princess, you just cracked something open, and this is really gonna help y'all. There's this belief that says, oh, this is just the phase that I'm at in my life. This is the phase that I'm at. And once I'm out of this phase, there's something's going to happen. The sky is going to open and God is going to whisper down and say, you're ready now, my child. And then I'm going to be the new version. And then I'm going to take the new action. And you're waiting on something outside of you to change or shift, or you're waiting on you to change or shift to be different. And it's like, you have to actually just make the decision. This is why, y'all, like, I love y'all so much. But when you come on here and say, but my situation is like this and my circumstances like that, it's like, all right, cool. And because you're the one that answers that. It can be, yeah, my situation is like this. And so I'm laying down to it, and that's fine. And okay, but that's your decision. You see what I'm saying? It can be, my situation is like this. So it can't go, it must go my way, period. Okay. So it was definitely an identity thing for sure. Y'all, every shifts in love, shifts in money, shifts in business, shifts in everything for me was an identity shift. And I'm telling y'all, as somebody who has, you know, been manifesting a long time, and somebody who was doing all the techniques, even the techniques, y'all, even being consistent, that is an identity. If you believe I'm just not consistent and I just don't get things done and I just don't do the things, I don't get what I want, right? But, ooh, I don't get what I want. That's your self-concept. That's what you believe about self. So you believe and assume, well, if I don't get what I want, then your belief, your specific belief and assumption from that is going to be, well, I'm going to do all this and it's not going to work. And so if I'm going to do all this and it's not going to work, why waste my time? I'm going to go ahead and just stay on Netflix. I'm going to go ahead and just entertain bullshit. I'm gonna go ahead and just stay in the old story. I'm gonna go ahead and type my stories out to everybody and let them know what's going on. Since I can't get what I want, at least I can get some pity, right? So, but if the self-concept is I always get what I want, I always get what I want, it leads you to a different belief and assumption. Well, if I always get what I want, then whatever I do is gonna work. It don't even really matter. It don't matter what I do is gonna work, and that's gonna lead to that result. Okay? Identity is everything, y'all, especially when it comes to the things that are bigger in your life. Bigger, right? When we say bigger, it means outside of the scope of my identity. That's all it means. Outside of who I think I am right now. But you get to change that literally right now. You don't have to wait. And it's honestly so fun, y'all. It's so fun, like changing yourself. It's so much more fun and fulfilling, like working on who you think that you are instead of trying to force 3D to give you something that you don't believe that you are. That's frustrating. Just going within, because honestly, all it does, you guys, is bring you closer to your God self. That's what your desires are. It's your piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy to your God self. That's it. So it's always taking you into a higher state of consciousness. It's always taking you into a higher state of love, of oneness, of power, when you actually go where the power is, okay? How do I overcome a fear of revision like not working, like when revising a mistake or a traumatic experience? Okay, let's think about it like this, Azania. If revision doesn't work, then you're in the same exact position you're in now. So there's actually nothing to be afraid of. That's it. That's just what it is. Like either you don't do it and you stay where you are, or you do it and now you at least have a chance to shift, right? So the fear of it not working, again, you guys, it just like, fuck that. So like, be willing. I told you guys this before. Be willing to fail, right? Be willing to fail and revise that you didn't. Be willing to fail and revise that you didn't. Okay? When you're not willing to fail, you're not willing to act. You'll say, well, I might fail, so I just won't do anything. Why? Then you're still failing. You're still just, now you're just not being who you want. You're not trying. Okay? So honestly, Azania, if you are like, if the experience is too like traumatic and you're just like, you don't want to trigger yourself in going back into that memory, that's okay. You don't need to necessarily go back into the memory specifically. You don't have to. If that's what's scaring you, just think about the overall feeling, right? Think about the feeling of I, y'all, okay? What's the feeling of I? I'm hurt. I'm a victim. I'm taken advantage of, right? I'm unsafe. Y'all, listen. This is so huge. Just start affirming your safety. I'm safe. I'm supported. That is honestly at the basis of so many of our manifestations. In money, that's what you want. You want to feel safe, free as well. But when you're struggling, you want to feel safe and secure. You want to feel supported, right? You want to feel held. When it comes to a relationship, you want to feel safe. You want to feel secure. We think like so many of us are so focused on just the person. The person doesn't mean shit unless you feel safe in the relationship. If the person shows up and you're scared every day that they're going to leave you, or you're scared that they don't really like you, or that the shoe is going to drop or whatever, then it doesn't matter. You're not having a good experience. You guys got to understand that what you're really truly looking for in everything is an experience, not a thing. What you're looking for is an experience. But what allows you to have that experience? Do you know something? I was looking at the hierarchy of needs. At the basis of it is like your physiological needs being met, like your food, water. We have to be alive. Then it's like your safety, right? Like health, shelter, all these kinds of things. Then on top of that is like connection, right? Connection with like family, love, right? So mind you, the way that the hierarchy of needs is that each level is supposed to be met before you can really truly rest on another level. Okay? So if you don't feel safe, then you can't really rest in connection with people. If you don't feel safe, you're going to perceive everybody as a potential op. Okay? And if so, then you're not safe to really love or be yourself or open up or any of those things. And then you're going to make assumptions from that belief that I'm not safe to really love, and they're not safe to really love. So this must be about to go terribly wrong. And then it does, and it proves you right, and it reinforces it, right? So all the way at the top of the pyramid of needs is self-realization, right? Under that is like self-respect, right? Confidence. And you guys, when you look at this hierarchy of needs, you can see why the world is the way that it is. Most people only basically have their bottom level met, which means that they're not in good health. They're not safe in their bodies, right? They're absolutely not having good connection and love, right? They're absolutely not confident. So they're absolutely not self-actualized, right? Or self-realized. No, that's so far from where they're at, right? And honestly, you guys, if you could see this, like, I know people are people. But when you can see that everybody is doing their best with what they have, and that you can't do better until you know better, really, you can't do better until you be better, until you identify better. And if your needs are not being met, which most people's are not, then you want this person to be the, self-realized version or confident version of themselves, and they're not even getting their basic needs met. Okay? Okay. Let me see if there's anything down here. Hi, beautiful seated fruit. I missed you too. Yes, period. I love that, Kyra. She says, you know me, and I definitely changed my concept since your class. I always get what I want. Y'all, listen, if anything, definitely affirm for your safety, okay? Affirm for your safety, affirm for all of that, but affirm that you always get what you want. That alone will shift so much for you, okay? Y'all are so cute in the comments. I love you guys. Oh, wow. To be able to view the page of a phenomenal goddess of a woman. This is so much more than anyone can ever ask for, and it's my pleasure to be a witness to your greatness. Sheesh Louise. Well, thank you, Derek. I love that. All right. Well, I'm going to go. I'm intending that this prospers you all immensely, and I'm absolutely sure that it has. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the SP group coaching next month. But other than that, I love you guys so, so, so much. All right. You are safe. Listen to me. You will find your safety in God. Okay. You will find your safety in God. All right. Your safety is not in the circumstance. It's not in getting Tommy to do what you want Tommy to do. It's in you understanding that you are the God of your reality, and that you are safe in God, and that God has you, that you can't really fail. You actually can't fail. The being that is being, you cannot fail, does not fail, will not fail. Okay? Don't stop listening to the ego. All right? I'm going to say this again. The devil's voice is just as loud as God's. You have to pick. You have to differentiate. You have to discern between the two. If it's talking some limited shit, it's some bullshit. And I don't care how much it makes sense, okay? Stop trying to make sense. Fuck sense. Fuck sense. All right? Get out of logic. We're not rational people here. Accept it. It's cool. We're not rational. We're above rationale. We create rationale. Okay? We manifest what's rational. We decide what's rational. What makes sense. Okay? Yeah, fuck sense. God math, period. Godical. Yes, God math, Ty. Girl, yes. I love that. It's God math, and the answer can only be what I want, period. That's all that it is. Okay? What you want it to be. I said the other day that science has discovered that basically revision. Like they've discovered that you can make a choice or a thought or something in the present that affects your past somehow, right? But science just figured that out. It's been almost 100 years since Neville taught this. And Neville's not the person that came up with revision. He just, popularized it, made it. Do you want to wait 100 years? Okay, this is why, like, I love science. Science is cool. Science rules, all that good stuff. But I don't care about science, okay? Because science is literally testing and proving what we already know to be true. And that's what science does. And that's great. And we appreciate them for that. But shit, I'm not waiting for the motherfucking hypothesis to be proven. No, I already know what it is. Okay? Yes. Ooh, yes, reality got infested. Science came after us. It's literally learning about us, period. Okay? All right. I don't have the verse of the day. I'm actually about to do that in a second, but I'll share yesterday's verse, or it was yesterday or the day before. I don't know. I'm not going to share it word for word, but what I will say was Jesus was telling them that the water, like they were at the well and somebody was drawing water, and Jesus was telling her, get me some. And he was like, the water that you drink, you'll always be thirsty again. The water that comes from me, you'll never thirst again, right? And what does that mean? The water is representing where we get our substance from, where we get our fulfillment from. And as long as you believe that your fulfillment is in manifesting a thing, in something outside of you, in outward circumstances, you're going to find yourself back in desire. You're going to find yourself back in unfulfillment. You're going to find yourself back in lack. Okay? Because nothing out here can sustain you. But when you know that God, right, is the living water, this is what Jesus said. God is the living water, right? So in that water, when you drink this, you'll never be thirsty again. When you know who you are, when you know that consciousness is I am, when you know that this is God, you can't really be without. You can't be unfulfilled. You're actually perpetually fulfilled when you're knowing who you are. Okay? So I love you guys so much. Wow, love from Italy. That's awesome. Thank you. I love you guys so, so much. I'm intending it prospered you guys immensely. I'm absolutely sure that it has. And I will see you guys in a video soon.